All right, welcome back to the Arrows podcast. We've got Lisa Wrightsman here. She's the managing director for Street Soccer USA and a close friend of Josh and myself. All right, so Lisa, can you introduce us to you a little bit and let us know how you got involved with Street Soccer USA?
My name is Lisa Wrightsman. I'm the manager for Street Soccer USA in Sacramento, and we use soccer to really just lift up our community. We're a nationwide nonprofit, and how we do that is by making soccer free and accessible to our lower income youth. We work with adults dealing with homelessness or, just the marginalized population. And most recently, we've started to build street soccer parks that become a connection point for the youth, our marginalized folks, and then just your everyday community members that enjoy the game. But really trying to create something positive for people to be drawn to and to have, and connections to be made.
Awesome. And I know the big thing we have coming up that's really exciting is the Homeless World Cup. Can you tell us a little bit about what that project is and why it's such a big deal to be here in Sacramento?
Yeah, so the Homeless World Cup is a international event, 7-day tournament. Every year it's held somewhere else. There's 70 countries that are members of the Homeless World Cup, and then usually each tournament has about 50. So what that looks like is 50 countries, 7-day street soccer tournament on fields that are the size of our fields here, which are like a basketball court with walls. What's unique about it is that each player from the 500 that will participate have all been homeless within the last year of the tournament. That means, in kind of a loose definition of what that is in the different countries, but unhoused, extreme poverty, mental health, rehabilitation, addiction, coming out of prison, jail. So you have 500 athletes who are on their way moving, they're getting their feet planted and they're starting to progress in their life. Those are the players that compete. And the event the goal is to change the perception of homelessness, because if we can change the perception, then we can create different solutions. So while it's a pretty phenomenal soccer event, it's also, we're trying to influence how we solve homelessness around the world, and it's a global event, so we actually get a little bit of every country involved.
A big part of what makes this so exciting is the involvement with Sac State. We're all former Hornets ourselves on this podcast. Can you dive into how you made that connection between Sac State and the Homeless World Cup and how that came together?
Yeah, stingers up. Homelessness in Sacramento is crazy bad. So when I gave my TED Talk, it was 5 years ago when you helped me record that, we had 2,500 people experiencing homelessness. Now we have 10,000, maybe more than that. So it's progressively gotten worse. It's very visible. What's interesting is we've never had more money dedicated to homelessness while also the problem being so bad. There's a big issue with the county and the city kind of trying to solve this by themselves, and it's not working, so it's creating this. It's very political. I don't know exactly why, but it is. But I say that because when we wanted to host the tournament, we knew if we partnered up with the city, there could be a lot of issues, political conflicts, just a negative narrative that we wouldn't want to be in. And if we only went with the businesses, we would not be able to get the city support. So in order to get the best of both sides, a university is pretty neutral, and especially Sac State. Neutral in that they're not designed to favor either one, but they're a big part of the community and they're interested in learning, exploring. And it was an entity that we could host where we felt like we could still involve the businesses and still involve the city without it being an us or them, which is what we need, because this is an issue that's affecting everybody. So we want a way to bring everyone to the table. So we reached out to Sac State, and they had given me a distinguished alumni award recently. So it kind of set the stage well. It was hey, thank you also. What do you think about this?
Easy flex real quick. Just a shout out to that.
Yeah. So, President Nelson's obviously wears his heart on his sleeve. And so we just got close to them and have learned since that, he's a big fan of sports, but he believes that sports is what sort of draws people to the college, and he's totally right. So this just plays on like a lot of his strengths. And then the university, Sac State, they want to become an anchor university. So it's like different branding, different goals, and this fits. But really, it was like, how can we partner with somebody who might have the resources that will also allow us to still invite the rest of the community to the table? And they have everything there.
I mean, I also got to say, like, during our stay at Sac State, or, while we studied there, like, being like civically oriented was always such a big part of the culture. Like, it was a big part of the academic curriculum, especially the general ed that we took. So it seems like a really natural fit. Like, can you speak a little bit about that? Like, was that on the top of their mind?
No. And it's interesting you say that, because when I went there, I didn't feel that way. Like, my experience was very different, and it took a while to get re-engaged with them again. And it was through like alumni soccer.
Yeah.
But each year that I've gone back and they have new staff and new people, it's like there's a different culture. So that has really impressed me, because you're like, I'm glad there's improvements being made. But then each time that they've like given us an acknowledgement, or done something in the community, or shown up to an event, or sponsored an event, continuously impressed with like what they're trying to do. So that was the main thing too, is we're like, oh wow, they're like actually interested in reaching, and this could be an event that can help us both. If they, if it's a win for them to have alumni doing it, like great. But I actually believe that these are the things they care about, which has made me like proud to be an alumni there.
That's awesome, man.
You guys had a good experience at Sac State, I feel like.
Did, yeah. I mean, we were kind of a unique example because we were clustered in a little honors program thing.
Yeah.
But
even outside of that, like, you could even tell, like, with the other groups, like, I had friends in some of the other extracurricular activities, like, you could tell it was kind of baked into what they were trying to do too. Like, and it wasn't just trying to be, getting credits or whatever like that. Like, they were actually trying to be involved in the city and see what could help. So to me, when it's so crazy to hear that you didn't have that experience, because like when I saw the partnership, I was like, oh, that's so natural. Like, oh, that makes so much sense. So that hit me like pretty hard. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, also like people that, we've worked with the women's soccer team, like a lot of their sports are into giving back and volunteering, and we've had them affiliated with us, but people that go to the Sacs, they stay here too. And so you're like, we have all these issues. If you're going to be here studying and you're going to live here after, you might as well have the network, have the relationships early on, because, it's not hard to get to know a lot of people here. But also all the kids we work with, like, they are more than likely, if they're going to go to college at a university, it's going to be Sac State. So it seems easy, but it didn't seem like a no-brainer right away.
How long have we been friends with Lisa? Like, I'd say maybe almost 7 years.
We just did our first video.
Yeah, that's crazy.
oh, that's right.
Oh my gosh, 2015. That's bonkers. I was just a wee lad then.
Yeah,
that's pre-Arrows.
It might have been like 2014.
But something like I always notice about Lisa that I've always like admired you for and like looked up to you is like it always seems like you see 3 or 4 steps ahead, or at least you're trying to. Like, even if it's not clear, you're always like trying to see what could be next, or like what steps need to be taken to get there. That is like, I've realized like that is not just a talent, like that's like a skill that you can foster and like strengthen. Can you speak to I was gonna say, can you speak to being a visionary? But that's a little pretentious. That's a little pretentious. But like, that, to me, that is important. Like, people don't understand that is a skill. That is like something that you can strengthen. Like, can you speak to like that strength of yours and maybe how you've developed it over the years, or do you even know about like what's your awareness about that skill of yours?
Interesting question. Well, I think like from playing soccer, when I have a goal, like I understand that I'm going to get there, and you just like, as a forward, that's your job. So there's 1,000 ways to get there, but the goal is always in the same spot, so it doesn't move. So I think I just had to practice at a young age, like visualizing lots of different ways to get there and taking lots of chances and failing. But off the field, and I think since I got sober, is like I really need there to be purpose in things, because that is like my sense of direction. That is my North Star. I can easily get sidetracked and go a very wrong, very bad direction. But if I feel like there's a purpose and it's going to benefit somebody else some way, then it's the right place. So for us in street soccer, it's always had to be like who else can gain from this? Who else? It can't just be me. It can't just be Tiff. Like, it's got to pay forward. So I think that's kind of like where we've seen that. And then as a, soccer players, you get used to looking for gaps and opportunities and, runs, like where, like I said, you're still going to the same space, like the same end goal, but there's a million ways to get there. And so I think I've just gotten good at looking at alternative routes, because it's also never been easy for me to take the direct one.
Yeah, because I mean, I bring up that skill of yours because to bring something so international to Sacramento, like, I don't think it would occur to a lot of people.
Yeah, it doesn't seem a natural place for an international event.
Like, I love our city. Like, I truly love Sac, but I mean, outside of the Kings, like, there's not a ton of like internationally known things. And I just don't think that's also the culture here, like, of the business environment. It's kind of like, keep it local, like, just regional. Like, so for you to see farther ahead, to see that, like, hey, we could bring this here and not like a Dallas or a New York or, you know what I mean? Like those like bigger metros, San Francisco even.
Well, I mean, it's not that those weren't options. It's the goal, right? The goal was for the tournament to happen, and it was for it to happen in the U.S. We did go to New York. We did go to San Francisco, and they were not interested. So it was also like our perseverance to just want to make it work. What I love about Sacramento is our people. But I had a similar thought. I was like, well, this is not Paris. Like, what are the other countries going to be disappointed? But then as we started to build it out, you're like, no, this is actually going to be like, this will probably be a better experience than in New York City, because they're not going to spend the whole day on subways. It's not going to be overstimulating, and we can get the entire community involved, which is not something that happened in the other countries with bigger spots. So I think I'm glad. Thank you for the compliment. But I do think, too, is like we get so hyper focused on this needs to happen because it is going to change somebody's life. So like,
but it didn't even occur to you like it has to happen in Sac. It was just like it has to happen, period. Yeah. And then it's just kind of like fate.
Here. Cool. No, for sure.
So obviously we're all really excited about the event, but like talk to us about like what the process has been like. I think the launch was like a few months ago now, or like talk to us about what it's been like the last few months, like since the word's starting to get out.
It's like highs and lows, right? It's I don't know, it's like surreal in a lot of ways. The best parts of it so far have been that we actually have a team working on this. So this is not Tiffany and I throwing together a national cup with a lot of volunteers and a little bit of support. This is like an event that has an infrastructure that has happened many times before us, and something that we've seen and, like made a priority to go to every year because of what it does for like our souls and just our own purpose. So in that sense, it's really fun because you're like, I've experienced this so many different times and know the value. So I also feel like we're some of the best qualified people to do it. You're like, let's do this right, and this is how it should feel. But when you start to get into the weeds and the logistics, it's pretty overwhelming. This is like, Sacramento does not have money like other, people aren't just like, we don't have a lot of like large corporations, and so it's scrappy like it always has been. But it's really fun to see the response from the community leaders, business leaders, politics. Like, they're excited, and that was, I expected more pushback. I expected us to have to explain more, but also we're in crisis right now with homelessness, so it's like, why not? And I mean, I'm excited that I feel like we might be able to contribute something really significant, but also all the countries from around the world, like, we know them, we see them every year, like, we're inviting them to our home, like, we're inviting them to meet our families, like, so for them, I'm really excited because that's going to make their experience tremendous. Like, they're going to feel like they know people already here. But like the announcement, working with the Homeless World Cup organizers, is a lot of moving pieces. It's urgent, but like I think we all know in the back of our minds, like, there's a goal, and it's going to be, we're going to change 500 people's lives. And it's, how do we bring in the most people involved? Like, how can we make the most connections possible? We want it to be, successful and safe. But it's been exciting to see how many new people we can bring into a project like this. Like, we're still pretty early on. We haven't started putting the fields together yet. But it is cool having a big team, and each time we get closer to big sponsorships, that's a ton of motivation.
So for anybody that isn't as familiar with the Homeless World Cup, can you speak to a little bit of the results and the effects that you see with homelessness in the cities that they are held at? Like, I know you guys have been to the ones internationally, and I know you guys went to the one in New York, right? Or,
yeah.
What do you guys see as the results post-event?
There's a few different ones. The players go back home, and I think it's 80% of them continue to be on their positive trajectory for life. That looks different in each country because of different opportunities. But they came here in an upward trajectory. They went home and they, say they have purpose, value, connected to the community. So those are all good things. The communities, the perception is what we're trying to change. And it's tough to measure, but I think most countries say that it had a positive effect on perceptions that allowed them to come through with more solutions, which is what I hope to have here is we can have all the solutions in the world, but if the belief is not behind it, it won't matter. So we're just throwing things away. So we want to get people on board and the people on the streets to believe that it can matter and then get them connected. So that I think will be a big one for us here. And then a lot of the communities they get more resources for the issues that they have in their countries, whether it's more dollars go to rehabs or more dollars go to supportive services, better relationships are built. And it's a chance for us to also introduce resources to the folks experiencing homelessness now that are nah, I don't want to try that. But maybe they learn more and then they're willing to go. And then the peers that maybe see it, maybe they were on the streets with one of the people playing and they're like, that looks like a good deal to me. I want to, and we tell stories. So you get to learn about what somebody goes through in life to be in that low spot. And then more importantly is what was it they experienced that really led them to those steps of changes? And it's not usually money and it's not usually a house. It's a feeling, an exchange. And for us here, especially now, those are the things that we want to hear and we want to be able to get everybody on board with. And these are the things that we need to be focusing on. So I think that's happened in most countries. It's they see it, then they learn, and then they can act. But the perceptions and the relationships of the community are super important.
Well, on that note, what is the best way for people listening here in SAC to get involved if this sounds like something that appeals to them?
They can reach out to myself, Lisa, at streetsoccerusa.org. We do have a volunteer coordinator. So that's on our website and our Facebook, Street Soccer USA. And I will say for the volunteers is another experience that's kind of forming in that, some people are going to come out here for a week and they're going to volunteer with all these other people and they can explore Sacramento that way. But there is not a person that's a part of the event that doesn't get affected by the positivity of it. And there's volunteers that have gone to this thing every year as well. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to bring something so important to us this close, which I never thought that was going to be the case.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for talking with us today. Josh and I are really excited about the Homeless World Cup, and I'm just proud of you guys just as friends for bringing this here. So thank you for that. And thank you guys for listening to the Arrows podcast. We'll catch you next time.